What is up, everybody? Welcome to Sales Stories in Real Life. This is the sales show where salespeople share their experiences on times that they were being sold and they were in the buyer's seat. Today, we've got a very special public service announcement episode 28. We've got the CEO of True Commish in the building. True Commish is a commission audit software for salespeople in every single setting to help increase pay transparency across the entire scale. Welcome to the show, Dan Goodman. Where to begin? Why don't you tell us some stories about times that you've helped sellers get some pay recouped? I know that you've got some crazy ones that you're sharing with us on LinkedIn all the time. Let's hear it live.
Awesome. Alex, it's a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. You do a great job hosting and putting out this podcast for everybody, so I really appreciate it. So True Commish, that's my life passion right now. I've been helping friends and family now for 25 years identify and recover literally hundreds of thousands of earned but unpaid commissions and resulting bonuses. I've always wanted to do my own thing, very high energy, passionate person, and wanted to bring this solution to the marketplace and do it in such a way that it can scale, that everyone can benefit from it. This issue around pay transparency has existed forever. It's a shame that employers play games with people's money. It's just wrong. It shouldn't happen. From my experience over the last 25 years, the problem is getting worse over time, not better. Plans are getting more and more complex. There's less visibility and transparency around pay calculations, and salespeople have to rely on blind faith and trust that they're being paid fully and accurately. And when a large portion of your compensation is from commissions, and you have to trust that it's being done right, especially with these complex plans that they create, it really causes a lot of angst and frustration, and it's just not right. So, a story I'd like to share, I'll give you a great example of this exact situation. So I was helping a rep about a year or so ago. They had come in mid-year to a new company. So they got a 6-month comp plan. Their quota was $500,000 on what typically would be $1 million annual quota. And they got paid a commission rate, I believe it was 10% on every deal. With about 6 weeks left in the year, they asked me to run all their numbers. So I grabbed their comp plan, I grabbed all their bookings information, I grabbed all their commission information, and I looked what they expected to earn on that deal when they worked so hard to close it, when they booked it, and compared it to what they actually got paid on that deal months and months later. And it was shocking. When the rep initially asked for the data, they were denied it. They were asked questions like, hey, why are you the only rep here that's asking for this data? Hey, why, don't you trust us? Do you plan on staying here for a long time? These types of bullying and intimidation tactics sort of to sway you away from checking. So then the rep had to escalate this all the way to the CFO and then eventually to the CEO before they got access to some data. When they did, they made it intentionally in such a way that nobody could really make any sense out of it. They printed out their general ledger that had all the debits and credits in over 2,500 lines, and it was impossible to make sense of. The columns were so wide that you couldn't even see it on a screen. You didn't even know how to deal with it. So anyway, it took me for a while to figure it out, dig into it, and you wouldn't believe the errors that we found. There were at least 3 or 4 deals that the rep had done 4 months earlier that they never got credited for. When they were asked about it, it got credited to a house account. There was another deal that this rep split a huge multi-million-dollar deal with the top rep in the company. It's actually a shame that this happened. It was a female rep that I was working with. They had no onboarding plan for the rep. So the training that they received was for them to piggyback on the senior rep. And then in return, this female rep had to split the largest deal commission with the senior rep for showing them the ways, although they never actually did show them the ways. So this rep was supposed to get full credit for the annual quota attainment, but split the actual commission. The accounting department never gave full credit to the rep. So when you're talking about a multi-million-dollar deal, that's a huge number that would get applied to the gross profit. There was also another other issues where they were not paid properly on the deal for whatever reason. To make the long story short, the rep was looking like they weren't going to make the quota, wasn't going to make the bonus. They were about $60K short when I jumped in. I found over $120,000 in gross profit errors, some of which were related to that big deal that they weren't getting credit on. A number of them were related to deals that they weren't getting paid on at all. And others were errors that would happen to that deal. So because of this, not only did the rep make their annual number. They made a $30,000 bonus for hitting their half-year quota. They were allowed to go on President's Club trip to Hawaii, okay, that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And they were being bullied and intimidated from checking the data in the first place, was given the data in such a horrible format that they couldn't even make heads or tails of it. And guess what happened the next quarter when they asked for the same data to check again, Alex?
What?
They were denied access to it. And there was some suspicion that that company was actually running two sets of books because they were so secretive of the data for no good reason, and their refusal to be willing to do it. So the moral of the story here, Alex, is that this is your data you created every day when you're entering into the CRM. These are your sales. This is your money that you've earned. And if your company plays games with it, it's your obligation to yourself and your family to fight through those roadblocks and obstacles. Check the information and demand payment for it. It's your right. It's your money. You earned it. You deserve it. And I'm here to help you if you need help.
My blood's like boiling over here, Dan. I mean, who knows how many folks are dealing with the same thing and just don't even know it yet. And what just boggles my mind the most is that this is such a short-sighted mindset by the company, because when you don't have pay transparency, when your reps aren't being paid well, when they're doing the production to be paid well, that amount of just stress that you're putting on each individual rep, on the team, right? On those managers that need to carry out these sorts of, intimidating tactics and gaslighting and all this stuff, like that weighs so heavily on the morale of the team, to save some extra commission dollars, when if your salespeople were fully motivated and they were well paid and they were just cranking, who knows how much more you could be earning otherwise. So, I mean, why don't you give us another one? Because I know you've obviously...
I mean, you hit on a really good point right there, actually. I mean, I've posted a couple times about this, and I've gotten some comments like it's hard to believe, or I don't believe for a minute that a top-performing rep got let go for closing a huge deal. I've literally have more than 8 different DMs from reps who closed quota-beating deals or comp plan-beating deals that were literally fired upon completion or just about when the deal closed, just to avoid paying out commissions. I actually put out a post recently suggesting that salespeople should negotiate into their employment agreement, how will the company handle commissions on the way out the door? Because if you don't have it up front, then you'll be left on your own, So I'll give you another quick example. And this is really talk about short-sightedness. So I got a call. This is just in the last couple of weeks. I'm actually going to put a post about this out next week about this. So it's a brand new one. This rep was about to close a $10 million deal. They were looking at $1 million commission on this. Okay. They had all the internal champions at the prospective client all ready to go. And it was just a question of timing at this point. The company realized that this huge deal was about to close and that it was going to be a quota-breaking, a comp plan-breaking deal. They fired the rep without a PIP, without a warning, without cause, without any justification. They made up some story that he had a bad attitude towards the executives. Well, what the company didn't realize is that this was an outstanding rep who developed long-term valuable relationships with his customers. So at the last minute, when the customer found out that they were changing the ownership of the account and pulling the rep off of it, they reached out to the rep who had their personal cell phone number. And he shared what had happened because, he wasn't going to lie to the customer. Guess what the customer did, shockingly? They pulled the $10 million deal from the customer because they didn't like how they were operating, didn't like their morals or ethics, and didn't want to do business with someone like that. They were also an existing customer that had a much smaller contract on something else. They got out of that contract and pulled that. So now the company, to save what would have been $1 million commission to the rep, who they probably likely could have even potentially negotiated with, but they just fired him in no payment. So what happened 2 to 3 months later? And this is recent. They laid off more than 25% of the entire company. And it looks like they may not make it. And if they had closed this $10 million deal, it was, full steam ahead. And the rep themselves, although this wasn't their fault, they personally feel really badly about this. And so the rep is out $1 million. The company's out $10 million. The rep I'm working with is out of job. And now a quarter of the company has been laid off. And there's a question of whether the company will survive. All because of the short-sightedness, jealousy, ego of the executive team that couldn't stand to see someone performing against a plan that they put together, they published, they made the reps sign their name to and agree to, and they wanted to pull the rug out from underneath them after they had done the deal. So the moral of the story here is that, treat your people well. They are your company. They drive the revenue. Without them, you have nothing. Treat them the way you want to be treated. You likely were a rep at one point in life. As people are moving and moving up the chain from individual contributors to sales leaders, remember what it was like when you were in that role, and stand up for your team and fight with the CFO and the CEO and make sure they provide true pay transparency and treat everybody with respect and do things the right way. Because in the long run, you'll be a much better organization and you'll be aligned correctly and the whole team will be working together.
Holy smokes. That's a lot to take in, because to your point, not only is there the monetary repercussions of all that just happened, but just the emotional toll of all that, right? Like, imagine the 75% remaining of that company. Newsflash, if they weren't already looking, they're looking now. So even if, like you said, they have to shutter their doors, their employees are already 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I know that our audience is very heavily salespeople. I really hope some sales leaders get to hear this message loud and clear, because this is so, so, so important. And on that theme, that helps me segue right into, this is a sales show. We're looking out for our salespeople. We want you all to be paid properly. True Commish will help you do that. But let's give them some value now too, Dan. I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. Pre-show, you told me I could go on a huge rant on this, so I'm looking forward to hearing it. For the B2B sellers that are listening to us right now, and we appreciate you guys for being with us, what would be one of the big takeaways that you would give about sales in the modern world?
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway that I would give is that, ultimately you're an individual contributor. You're, in essence, your own P&L. Oftentimes you're setting the pricing and the discounting, and you know how much commission you're going to make. So treat your sales career like your own business. I mean, if you were running your own company, you wouldn't put up with the things that you're seeing going on that are impacting your revenue coming in, which is your commission, right? So, I mean, the thing that I would say is that, be disciplined, and I'm going to put up posts about this in the next few days about this. When you come into a new organization, act as if you're going to be walked out the door tomorrow. Set yourself up for success. Gather all of your data, gather your comp plan, gather your commission statements, gather your employment agreement, and because you'll be denied access to all of this down the road. I also suggest for people to document their interactions. So if your customer is saying that you did a great job, if your manager's happy with you, if you're getting called out with kudos, document them in a journal of all the great things that have been said to you with dates and times and who said it and what they said and where. And if you're having issues with your company, they're putting some pressure on you, they're giving you an attitude, for whatever reason, document those interactions. And then in addition to that, send an email back to the person summarizing your conversation. So now there's a trail, right? So that they can't come in and start putting you on pips when you're the number one performer in the company, which, oh, by the way, I have 3 DMs from people who've said just that. So that they can't sit here and make up stories about how you're not adding value to the company or what have you. So, it's just wrong. So set yourself up for success, stand up for yourself. Don't be bullied and intimidated. It's your money. It's your right to check it. And it goes beyond just finding money. I mean, this is for the sales leaders out there. This is about humanity, and this is about society. This is about, I'm a person and you're a person. And why is it okay for you to go to work every day knowing what you're going to earn for your efforts? But a salesperson should go there, make all these sacrifices every day on behalf of the company to close these large deals, of which the company is already getting 85 to 90% of the sale anyway, as the rep only gets maybe a 10 or 15% commission. Why would you feel the right to mess with that small percentage that they're getting? I mean, reps get a bad rap, and people have this impression that, they don't work that hard, or they get to go to ball games and out to dinners and wine and dine, and they're not, with a ball and chain at the desk, 8 hours a day. Reps take they have a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and a lot of people that count on them. right? And if you don't do well for a couple of months, you could be out the door in a flash, or you don't have the money to pay for your bills. So, let's treat them fairly and with respect, mutual respect and trust, and it will come back to you in spades. Your company will work hard for you. So one of the things I recommend all organizations do is provide true pay transparency, and True Commission can help with that. We look at what you expected to make when you closed that deal. We compare it to what you actually did make when you were paid on it, and we highlight those differences. It's shocking to me that no company that I am aware of anywhere in the world that actually reports to the rep what they expected to make when they close the deal. It's only reported what's invoiced to the customer. And they make it difficult to try to identify those things. So I just think it's the right thing to do. I mean, people are demanding transparency in every aspect of life. With the change with the pandemic that came about, and the transparency demanding and policing with body cams that led to the Black Lives Matter movement and to the demand for equality and fairness, whether it's, the bullying and intimidation that took place with the Harvey Weinsteins of the world that led to the Me Too movement, whether it's the shift in the power dynamic from the employer to the employee, where now people are standing up and demanding transparency, the remote work, the quiet quitting, the great resignation. Life is short. That's what people taught us. That's what was taught to us by the pandemic. And don't sit there and be a shill for your company. If they don't treat you right, then move on and do something else. And that's the message that I want to bring forth. It's not so much about finding pairs, but that's really important as well. It's about encouraging people to stand up for themselves, because the more we allow this to go on as a society, the more it will continue, and it will just get worse over time. It takes every one of us as individuals to stand up for ourselves and let employers know that this is no longer acceptable. We won't stand for it, and it's going to change.
Amen to all that. Amen to all that. And I'll tell you, this is a topic that, whether you want to admit it or not, is very much on top of people's minds, because at the time of this recording, I recently made a post as well about, hey, if you get that meeting from HR and you know that you're about to get canned, here's what you want to do, right? And the big takeaway that I want everyone to take away is that no matter where you're at in your employment stage, always be documenting everything. Document those internal shout outs, right? Hey, you did a great job on this, awesome job with X. Document your conversations with your customer. If you send a customer a cold email and the customer responds and says, holy smokes, that's one of the best cold emails I've ever received, document that, right? When you're going back and forth and, like you said, having internal conversations and you feel like you're getting slack for no reason, document it. And I love your feedback here. Answer with an email saying, hey, this is a recap of what we talked about. That way you have that footprint, you have that trail, because to your point, when the curtain is coming down, meaning you're about to get fired, everything goes away immediately, right? There's no, oh, you get your email through the end of next week, right? Oh, you get your logins till the end of next week. When the curtain comes down, the curtain comes down. So, Dan, that was a really important message. We will definitely grab some awesome sound bites from there. I know that all of the salespeople loved this. The sales leaders, I hope they all loved this. For the ones that didn't love it, well, you probably want to start thinking about how you could change your ways, because this is where things are going.
Absolutely. And the bottom line is that my new theme, my motto that I just embrace, is that everyone wins with pay transparency. It's not just about the rep getting the money that they need. It's the entire organization that has trust, that are going on the same path, that are aligned together in every way. I mean, you're only hurting yourself as an organization by screwing your employees over and messing with their money. It's going to cause a revolt, and you're going to hurt yourself as a company. Have a longer term view. Don't worry about, hey, if I pay out this $50K commission, what's that going to mean to the bottom line for this month of reporting? Think more strategically and more long term. Invest in your people. It will come back in spades to you.
Amen. Invest in your people and it'll come back in spades to you. Dan, this is typically the part where I ask if you want to plug anything on the way out, but that was such a good quote. If you want to cut it there, I think it would be awesome. But if you have any last words that you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is that this problem has gone on forever. And this is the reason why I started True Commish. There's no solution like it in the marketplace anywhere. There's no one there who's helping the individual rep. And this has become my mission in life right now. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. reach out to follow us on LinkedIn. Reach out to our webpage. The app is free right now for all reps. Go to the app, load up your data sets, identify your pay errors. If you need help, reach out to me. I'll be happy to jump on a call, answer any questions, and help you. But all I can tell you is that the reason why this continues to go on is because people are afraid to step up. And if you don't step up, it will just continue to get worse. So for yourself, for your fellow reps, for society as a whole, stand up, claim what's yours, put an end to this bullying, and do what's right.
Amen to that. I don't want to add anything else on top of it because that was a perfect quote to cut us. Dan, this has been absolutely amazing. Folks, make sure to go check out True Commish. Right now, it is free for salespeople. The app is free for salespeople. Get in there. Go check them out. Sales Stories in Real Life, fam. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.